All right, welcome everybody to lesson number 5 of Learning German with the California Kids. And this is going to be the last lesson before the test, which I'll put out next week. So if you are following this series, please review lessons number 1 through 5 before completing the test and see how much you've acquired just from following and studying these videos on your own. For those of you who aren't too familiar, this series follows the California Kids, and they are 4 kid groups from California. We have the Beach Kids, the Pier Kids, the Playground Kids, and the Canoe Kids. So in the first part of the story, it focuses primarily on the Beach Kids and the Pier Kids, and some of the reading texts that we've been using introduce everybody to who the kids are. So for this lesson, I wanted to introduce greetings and sort of departures or goodbyes. Guten Morgen, and you can follow along with me if you like. Guten Tag, so good morning, good day, means hello also. Und guten Abend, good evening, guten Abend. These ENs are masculine accusatives. We haven't got to the accusative case yet, but just for now, think of it as a stock phrase. Guten Morgen, Guten Tag, Guten Abend. Then when you leave and you want to say goodbye, Auf Wiedersehen, right? Wieder is again, sehen is to see, or just really informally, Wiedersehen. Wiedersehen. Tschüss, you'll hear that a lot. Tschüss is goodbye, und bis bald, until soon. Okay, so these are a couple greetings. And what I do in my classes is we do discussions or actual situational um, discussions or conversations with these terms and others. As you've seen, we've followed some of those in sort of a written form, but if you have a person that's learning with you or somebody you can ask for help, you can use this dialogue here. When the first student would say Guten Morgen, good morning, wie geht's dir? How are you? Right? We did this expression last week. How does it go to you? Wie geht's dir? Student Nummer 2. Student 2 says, Morgen, mir geht's gut. Und dir? Right? You can throw a little Danke in here. Thank you. Und dir? Student 1, Student Nummer 1 sagt, mir geht's auch gut. Danke. I'm doing also good or well. Danke. Student Nummer 2, super. Tschüss. Student Nummer 1, Wiedersehen. Okay, so a little quick hello, how are you, and goodbye. And then just to review also the colors, we did the colors the last lesson. So insert here the English word. Wie sagt man blue auf Deutsch? So how does one or people say blue in German? Wie sagt man blue auf Deutsch? Man sagt blau. Wie sagt man green auf Deutsch? Man sagt grün. Wie sagt man yellow auf Deutsch? Zum Beispiel, for example, man sagt gelb. Okay, so review the colors if you don't have those down. And this is obviously a useful little phrase. Man sagt, one says, or people say. Man sagt das auf Deutsch, in German. Another prepositional phrase that is also very useful. Okay, so this is our warm-up, Aufwärmung. I have my students do this with at least 2 different people. Get their German flowing. They can use the language conversationally. They're building the confidence and dealing with the pressure of being on the spot. All right, and here I'm introducing the different words for you, or you all, or you guys. So here we have du and sie. Du is the informal, sie is the formal for you. So how are you? Are you going to the store? Are you coming home? Depending on who you're talking to, the du and sie will be different for each situation. Okay, I've posted this video here And this is a nice 4-minute video. It's really short. You can fast forward through it too as need be. And he explains du, sie, und ihr. Ihr is you all, you guys for the plural informal, and then the you, plural, formal, say a classroom setting or an office business meeting where you're talking to a group of people and you're saying you as a group or you people. And then this is the formal form of that. But primarily, I have my students focus on these three, specifically du in the classroom. So I'll play this just briefly. Not all of it, just a couple little points.
English
here.
speakers face a big challenge in German. In English, when you talk to people, we use the word you, and that's that. More than one person you call by their first names, then you will use the word.
So he mentions here if you're talking to a friend or family member, use du. If you're talking more than one friend or a family member, use ihr. Okay. And I'll have this video linked in the description so you can go ahead and access it on your own. He gives you some good examples, some good notes here to follow for the use of du.
This means a person you call by his or her first name. For example, Martin, not Mr. Jones.
Yeah, so if you know somebody on a first name basis.
So if your friend Martin walks up to you, you can use du because you are only talking to Martin, and because you're on a first name basis with him. Person. There's no word.
Okay, again, ihr is for two or more people, informally. You know the people, say you're at a concert or at a club that you're a part of, people that you know, ihr, right? It's a informal group setting. Okay, so I'm not going to play all the video, but I'll have this video linked for your help in the description. Okay. All right, so if I were to ask you, what would a student use to another student, what would you say? And it would be du. Du, sie, or ihr. Those are the three options here. Du, sie, or ihr. So a student to a student, du. How about a professor or a teacher to a student? And that student is grown up, erwachsene. And here, the student or the professor or the teacher would use sie. It's a formal situation. You have two adults and they don't know each other. They're not intimate friends outside of the classroom, so using formal with each other. And the formal is always a good default, and people will correct you if they don't want you to use the formal with them. Okay, so Studentin, female student with two other students. So student to student, and this would be ihr, you all, you guys. Okay, student to police officer, male or female. Remember this in is a female ending. Studentin, Polizistin, that is showing that the person is female. So here you would use sie. It's a formal situation again. And then we have a person, Mensch, und Gott, and God, specifically within Christianity. A lot of people would guess sie here, but it's du, on a personal level. And also we have a person to an animal. You would use du because they are, yeah, it's like a friendship relationship. Okay? All right, du. The other thing that you'll notice, and you probably have noticed in the text that we've read, are these what are called conjugational endings, and they change depending on the subject. So here it's ich and wohne, so this e ending is connected to the ich noun. Du, st. Okay, so each time you use a verb and a specific subject, you're going to have to conjugate the verb. We have these conjugations in English also. We go, he goes. They stay, she stays, right? Obviously, we don't have as many conjugational endings. They become simplified over time, but in German they're still existent. So ich, du, sie, right? Remember you've memorized these nouns, these subjects. Here's the formal, sie wohnen. So this en. Wohnen means to live. And if you notice, this wohnen, en, makes up 4 of the different forms. So I always tell my students, if you need a quick little study guide, say you didn't prepare for your test or quiz, for the verb conjugations, if you know this en ending, you know 4 of them, 4 out of 8. So theoretically, you should be able to get it 50% on the quiz. And then the other two, or other, not two, but the other 4 are fairly simple. It's E, S, T, T, and T. So you see that there's 2 T's. So if you knew E, N, and T, you would be able to get 6 out of the 8, and then just the S, T, and E. So do memorize these. And if you're using the Contacta not the workbook, but textbook, the used 7th edition is on. This is on page 46, so you can look at these conjugational endings. Okay, so I live, you live, formal, right? Er, sie, es, he, she, it lives, we live, you all live, right? And you live, plural, formal, and they live. Okay. All right, so here, this is a little fill in the blank. You can test yourself, see if you've memorized these, if you know them well enough, just to insert the endings here. If you can do this really quickly, then you have memorized these conjugational endings and internalized them. So let's go through these together. You can pause the video and test yourself if you like, but I'll fill these in for the viewer. So, hallo, wohnst du hier? ST, wohnst du hier? Nein, ich wohne in Heidelberg. Ich wohne with the E sounds like an A sound. Ich wohne in Heidelberg. Ach so, in Heidelberg. And then we have wohn. We need a conjugational ending. We have a plural here. Deine Geschwister, your siblings. Wohnen deine Geschwister auch da? Also there. Do your siblings also live there? So siblings is plural. You can replace deine Geschwister with they. And so we would use, if you go down to the they, sie, wohnen. Okay? And I always tell my students, have these charts with you when you're working through assignments like this, and you can just reference, oh, the subject is du. You look for du here, and it's st, and you write it in. Ich is the subject. You look for ich in the e. Okay, till you have it memorized. Ja, sie wohnen auch da. Wohnen, en. Wo wohnt deine Familie? Here's a T. The reason for this, some students will think, oh, you're a family. It's multiple members, it's plural, but it's actually a singular. Deine Familie, it's a one unit made up of multiple people, obviously, but it's a singular term. Meine Mutter wohnt hier in Stuttgart. So if we did a pronoun substitution, we would say she lives here in Stuttgart. And we go back to our chart. Sie, she, lives in Stuttgart. Okay, and we'd insert the T here. Mein Vater, my father, wohnt, with the T, in Mannheim. Okay, so third person singular, wohnt in Mannheim. Und ich habe keine Geschwister. I have no siblings. Okay, so test yourself on those. See if you have those conjugational endings memorized, you're comfortable with them. And I've put this video in here so that you can hear the language. This is Learn German for Beginners. They have a lot of videos that are slower. You have the words in front of you, you can hear them, and they repeat the phrase. So for this example, or for this video, what I would recommend students doing is hearing the breaks between words and also listening for this conjugational ending in the subject. Okay, so it's really important to hear breaks between words because at the early stages of learning a language, it sounds like noise in one continuous word. And after a while, you'll start to hear these slight pauses between words. These videos are slower spoken German, so people speak obviously quicker than this in real time. So I'll also have this video in the link, so let's play it really quickly.
Wie geht es dir heute? Wie geht es dir heute?
Wie geht, so hear that T, S.
Mir geht's gut.
Geht's.
Und wie geht es dir?
So hear this TS.
Mir geht's gut. Und wie geht es dir?
Wie geht es dir? And then you can practice your
Mir
pronunciation.
geht es sehr gut, danke.
Okay.
Mir geht es sehr gut, danke.
Alright, so I'm not going to go through the whole video, but this is a good video series. You can look this channel up on YouTube and subscribe to it if you like, to help learn more of the language. Okay? Alright, let's move on past this. So here we have the California Kids. This is text 1.3. Remember, for those of you that are following this series and are interested in the California Kids, these texts about the California Kids are in a booklet that I've produced and printed. And if you would like a copy of all these texts, there's 12 total. I do sell those, so let me know if you're interested in them. We're going to be using the first 3 or 4 for this series, just to give you a flavor of what they're like, and they're written and designed for beginning language learners. Okay, so here, meine beste Freundin, you can follow along and pronounce with me, meine beste Freundin, my best friend, and this is a female, this in ending, and here we have our subject. Then we have our verb heißen, to be called. We have our verb conjugation T, because she is called Wendy Krieger. Okay, so Wendy is one of the California Kids. She has red hair. Krieger ist ihr Familienname. Krieger is her family name. Okay, ihr Nachname, and that's the subject of the sentence, her last name, bedeutet, here's the verb conjugation, warrior. Krieger means warrior, auf English, in English. So we saw this earlier in the video today. Auf Deutsch, auf English, that's a prepositional phrase, in English, in German. Sie, Wendy, she, ist auch in Karlsruhe, wie ich, this is Carl narrating here, geboren. Sie wurde geboren. She became born. Germans tend to use the passive here. I have inserted ist because we use ist, sein conjugations at the beginning of the first sort of chapter for learning German beginning. Okay, und sie ist in Beachland aufgewachsen. She grew up in Beachland. Das heißt, that means, so our subject here is das, heißt with the T. Wendy kommt auch aus Beachland, California. Okay, kommen, woher kommst du? This question goes back to, I believe it's the first or second video. Woher kommst du? Where do you come from? I come from, ich komme aus. Okay, weißt du? Do you know wie alt sie ist? How old Wendy is? Weißt du how old she is? Ja, genau. Yes, exactly. Sie ist 9. So here it's as if somebody gave an answer and then the person's responding, yeah, exactly, you're right. Sie ist 9 Jahre alt. She is 9 years, and this E is a plural ending, alt. Das ist jung. Here's our conjugated sein verb, das ist jung. Sie ist ein junges Mädchen. Here we have what's called an adjective ending. It's das Mädchen, and this es is referring to das as a neuter, what's called a neuter definite article. Ihre Adresse ist Beachland Straße. Her address is Beachland Street Nummer 2. Okay? And in German, the number of the street address, your house address, it comes after the street name. Sie ist meine Nachbarin. She's my neighbor. Again, this is Carl, the oldest kid, speaking. Ihre Postleitzahl, her, what is this in English? Area code, zip code, zip code. And this is the zip code 90274. Okay? Sie hat keine eigene Telefonnummer. We talked about this negation, this K, and then an indefinite article. Eine means a, and you add a K to it, and it means no something. So no own telephone number. She doesn't have her own telephone number. Weil, because sie hat kein Telefon. She has no telephone. Remember, the conjugated verb generally goes in the second position, which we've seen here. Second position here. Here's our subject, verb, second position. But here it's all the way at the end of the sentence because of the verb weil. Because she, and then this word weil bumps the conjugated verb all the way to the end of that clause. Sie hat auch keine E-Mail-Adresse. She has also no email address. Again, here's that negation, adding K to eine, keine E-Mail-Adresse. Ihre Eltern sagen, her parents say, dass sie zu jung ist. Okay, so here again we see the verb at the end of this clause. Das, just like weil, bumps the verb to the end of the clause. Okay, so that's an exception you'll see. Dass sie jung ist. Am Computer zu sein, at the computer or on the computer, to be on the computer, to be. Und dass sie zu jung ist, ein Handy zu haben, to have a cell phone. Ihre Eltern sind streng. Her parents are strict. Okay? All right, so that's text 1.3 of the California Kids. You get to know each other, get to know the kids, where they come from, how old they are, where they live in the story, and so forth. Okay? All right, so this is the last video for chapter 1. Next week's video, I'm going to be posting test number 1. So again, review videos 1 through 5. Get all that information in your head, and I'll post the test next week with some additional comments about the story, The California Kids. So there are the texts about the California Kids, but then there's also a fictional story that I use in German 2, in German 3, that has the kids going on different adventures and meeting different kid groups. Okay, and we use that text for reading comprehension. So at the end of German 1, you'll be basically prepared to start reading that story. And these are one of the kid groups. They're called the peer kids. You can see the peer in the background. And all the kids have warrior forms that they take at some point in the story. And we don't see these warrior forms until part 2 of the story, but part 1 is what we use for German 2. All right, lastly, my Instagram is happywolfart1. If you want to give me a follow, check me out there. I post a lot of art and information about the California Kids. You found my YouTube channel, and if you are interested in the series, please do give a follow and a like if you can or are interested. And then I also have some t-shirts for the California Kids, other things on Teespring. Okay, so thank you for stopping by, and I'll see everybody in about a week, and we will have our first test. All right, tschüss.